What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about some 2025 games I think could end up surprising people for one way or another. And we'll go over those reasons as we get there in the video, but I want to lay down some ground rules first just to kind of make it clear where we're going with this. So pretty much the main rule is just they have to come out in 2025, or at least they have to be declared to be coming out right now, okay? I mean, there's a lot of potential games. There's probably like 5 to 10 Switch 2 games, right, that we just don't know, and those could surprise people. But I want to stick with kind of what we do know, okay? And this was just kind of like a very entry-level like glance that I did. If you guys like this video, I can definitely do another one, and we can take a look kind of at the rest of the list. So let's go through this list, and in no particular order, I did Clair Obscur Expedition 33 as the first one, and maybe this is kind of like the top of my list for like a good reason why it could surprise people. I think this could be like the best of all worlds. So I'm a big Persona guy. I'm a big Kingdom Hearts guy. I'm a big Final Fantasy, kind of new age Final Fantasy guy, and this game looks like all of it packaged up beautifully. The game looks awesome. You know, as soon as you see kind of just the combat style and how all the UI looks, like it screams a little bit of Persona. But you know, they talked about Kingdom Hearts and Persona and Final Fantasy all being just things that they're inspired by. I think the game looks awesome. It's probably, you know, I think I actually have covered the length talk and some other features of the game. I don't think this game is going to be like a 50, 60, 70 hour game. I think it's going to kind of be more contained and almost like more direct, which I think is fine for a game like this. So I don't know. I think this game has a lot of potential to come out and just be like incredibly good, like maybe one of the better games of the year. And I don't even know how many people are actually even like talking about it right now. So I feel like the potential for this game is much higher than what it's being talked about right now. Number 2, I actually did Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and this honestly I would say is not even necessarily for quality. Again, this is like surprise in a couple different ways. And for Kingdom Come, you know, I kind of expect the quality to be really good. And I've said it before, like Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 just never got me, you know, just with the complexities of it and the difficulty of it. But I highly respect it. It's a game I respect, and I really want to like 2. I'm planning on getting it, and I hope I can actually get into it. But I expect, you know, the quality of that game to be awesome. But I'm actually kind of talking about, I guess, like the impact and like the fandom. I think this game is going to do bananas in terms of sales. Like that's what I think is the surprising thing. I think this is a game franchise, I guess you can call it franchise now because there's 2, right? That's kind of like quietly waiting for its time, right? The first game over the lengths of many years has sold extremely well, right? So like there is a very hardcore fandom for this game, and it's not like it's like 100,000 people. It is millions upon millions of people that I think are kind of quiet, hardcore fans of the game, and I think they're going to show up for Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. So this is one that if it sells like 3 million units in a week, I will say I called it months ago, right? Because I really think it's that kind of game. Number 3, I did Split Fiction. This, I guess, kind of goes back to quality, or although honestly it could be both quality and sales. This is a game that I think could honestly be Game of the Year. I genuinely believe that. I think, you know, I guess, granted, it's if everything goes right. And I guess that's kind of the thing with all of these games, right? Like if there's a big error in something with these games, yeah, what I'm talking about now won't necessarily come true. But Split Fiction, I feel like, is kind of this build-up of A Way Out, which I love A Way Out, and It Takes Two, which, you know, won Game of the Year at the Game Awards. I don't really care, you know, as we've talked about, right, what wins what at the Game Awards, but I loved It Takes Two. I thought it was a phenomenal game. Basically, I think it's a studio that's just been building and building. You could say, you know, depending on how Split Fiction goes, we might say it peaked with It Takes Two, but I feel like they got just a little bit more. And the trailer for Split Fiction looks unreal. I think it's the best thing that was shown at the Game Awards, to be honest with you. So I feel that like this is probably their final, you know, like the best piece that they could ever create. I feel like Split Fiction is kind of that. It could be It Takes Two. This could be like a coming down from it where we say, yeah, it was good, but It Takes Two was better. That's possible, but I feel like they got a little bit more to give, and I think by the end of the year, we could be saying this was a Game of the Year. And, I mean, we know how these games have sold. They've also sold really well, so I also feel like this is going to be a highly successful, like, sales-wise, and then hopefully quality-wise, it's elite as well. Number 4, I have Crimson Desert, and I kind of liken this game, I think I have likened this game to these 2 games for a while, Stellar Blade and Black Myth. And when I say that, I kind of just just mean, I mean, you could look at like where it comes from. I know now Stellar Blade and Black Myth did not come from the same place, but kind of these games that are a little like outside the bubble, okay? And that's not a bad thing. In fact, I actually look at that as a major strong suit, and I feel like it kind of gives these games more identity. It's gonna have a very strong identity on its own. It's gonna be a little bit different, and I feel like Stellar Blade and like Black Myth. Now, those two games are, I think, some of like the better examples of, or maybe like the highest tier of these examples, right? Because it kind of nails a couple different things. It's not like it's only good at one thing and the rest of the things suffer. Stellar Blade, I think, has a different way of telling story that didn't hit with everybody, but these are pretty well-rounded games. Crimson Desert, I could kind of see it going either way, where like it's either really good across the board or maybe it excels at a couple things and is a little weak in other ways. But I do think, again, in terms of like, well, what would surprise us? I think maybe the quality. I feel like those that are into Crimson Desert have been into it, but there's a lot of doubters out there, and that's okay. I mean, like, you know, if it hasn't shown you enough, it hasn't shown you enough. But I feel like this game can be big. I feel like this game can be good, and I would not be surprised, again, you know, if this game came out and it kind of excels at a couple different things. It sells millions of units, you know, over the first couple months. I could see it being one of those games. Okay, number 5, we're going with a game that was actually just revealed at the Game Awards in Dispatch. So this is that game from some of the makers of, like, from Telltale, you know, Tales from the Borderlands, Wolf Among Us, etc., and Aaron Paul, Laura Bailey, that game. The game looks so good, and I actually did a whole video on it, so I won't spend too much time in this video, but the game does look great. The game seems to have, again, that kind of identity where you can tell, you know, it's part of that genre. You can tell it's from that Telltale kind of like acknowledgement, but it feels like it's going to do things kind of different. And it also feels like I feel like it's going to do both. Like, it's going to be different for those type of games with some of the mechanics they have in it, where like you literally send those superheroes out to like accomplish tasks. That's like part of the gameplay structure. That's a little bit different, but then, you know, it's going to, I think, feel familiar in a lot of ways, but a good kind of familiar. You know, we had like the new Tales from the Borderlands game, which was horrendously awful. But besides that, there's not a lot of games giving off those like elite Telltale years, right? And it's because Telltale's been gone for, you know, Wolf Among Us 2 is like dead in the water. But I think this game can do a lot to kind of bring it back. So what would surprise people? Well, it was just announced, and I feel like it could maybe really stand out and kind of be its own thing in 2025. Okay, final 2. Number 6, I'm going to do Lost Soul Aside. So again, a little Crimson Desert-like. Now, I'll tell you this, and maybe this is the pessimist in me, even though people tell me I'm oftentimes too optimistic. With Lost Soul Aside, I think Lost Soul Aside could be a game that excels at like one or two things, and it's kind of mediocre besides that. That's what the game kind of like gives me the vibes, and I feel like the general direction would be. I feel like the combat is going to give, I think, obviously they're going for like that Final Fantasy versus 13 type thing, which is fantastic. I think that serves a rather big audience. I guess it might surprise people in a couple ways, because I think so many people have just written it off because of the 9 years of development. I think a lot of people just think it's never going to come out. So just by it releasing, which, hey, maybe it doesn't. Maybe it doesn't come out in 2025, even though they just said that they were going to. That would surprise people. It could be actually really good. And I do think, again, I mean, my prediction for it is it'll probably excel at a couple things, and it could overall just be a good game, and then maybe it's a little weak elsewhere. So that's why I think it'll surprise. And then the final game, I'm actually going to do Metal Gear Solid 3. I guess the thing with this, I don't know how surprising this is. I kind of just wanted to give it a little bit of love because I kind of miss talking about it. I feel like this is going to be one of the better remakes to ever come out. And I also feel, you know, with Konami and with what just happened with Silent Hill 2 Remake, this is like that second thing, right? That really puts them on the board where it's like they're back. Now, they're giving it to all these studios. I mean, Silent Hill 2, I guess, specifically, right? Given the Bloober team and all that. But I really think if you haven't been thinking that with Metal Gear Solid 3, I'm not saying, you know, you think what you want to think. I'm not going to tell you what to think. But every time we've seen that remake, it looks unreal. It looks so freaking good. And I think it's going to be a good one. I really do. I think if you listen to them talk, they are very cautiously aware, you know, of what people think about them doing a remake to Metal Gear. I think they know. I think they know, honestly, a lot like Silent Hill. It feels very similar, but honestly, what we've seen for Metal Gear has been better, I think, than what we saw. Silent Hill kind of gave off some like worrying vibes going in, but it was the same mentality where it's like, you got to respect the original. You got to understand how big this is for you, that you cannot mess up such an iconic game in Silent Hill 2 or now Metal Gear 3 and remaking it. You can't mess that up. I feel like we've heard so many great things of that respect and acknowledgement that they know like they've got to do this right. But then what we've seen from Metal Gear 3 has always looked phenomenal. And Silent Hill 2, again, struggled, but it turned out to be like a Game of the Year type game at the end of the day, so it didn't actually matter. Metal Gear, I feel like, is even kind of ahead of that curve. So I don't know. I feel like, when we look at some of the best remakes of all time, Silent Hill 2, I think, joins that list, by the way. I think Metal Gear 3 is going to join that list probably within like 3-4 months when it comes out. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Let me know if there's any other games. I mean, like GTA, what can that surprise? Mafia. Like, there's some games that are maybe more like safe bets, but if you guys like this video, I can definitely do more like it. Let me know. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.